Hi, I'm Diane Gerdes. I am with the Mortgage Advantage. I am the owner of the Mortgage Advantage, and I have been lucky enough to work with Flagstar since April 2010.
Obviously, you've had a relationship with Flagstar for quite some time now and been in the industry for a while. So I think your humbleness and humility is probably a key to the success and how your people feel about you. So I love you, though. I appreciate you taking the time with us today. Could you start by obviously the Mortgage Advantage story? Give us like a 30,000 footnote, Cliff Notes version of the kind of story at the Mortgage Advantage.
Well, the Mortgage Advantage was started in 1995, and my husband and I started the company. It was just Mike and myself. And then 6 months later, we hired Ken Budge. And then 2 years later, we hired Eric McAllister, and it just slowly grew. And we started our relationship with Flagstar in 2010, which I can tell you really has made our company more profitable, if more than anything.
So in talking to you about the company and then kind of the advantages or the edge that you see in the industry with what you bring to the table, and then obviously taking it to the next step with, okay, from a service level to the borrowers, like we just talked about, how does working with somebody like Flagstar align with kind of your values and what you're looking for? What do you see from Flagstar?
We started working with Flagstar in 2010. And the first, I always remember our first loan that we did is that I called, it was a VA loan. I called Tyson, I didn't know him that well, and he stopped by our office. He just happened to be in the neighborhood, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the VA loan, he says, yeah, we can do this. And it was a loan I had taken to another lender. So that was the beginning. And then through the years, the relationship has grown. I mean, with Kelly, Tyson, of course, and the underwriters, that we kind of learned what they would accept and what they wouldn't. And when everything changed with TRID, that was a big, we changed to a correspondent at that time. And that was because Tyson made me. I did not want to do it, but he made me. And I really contribute a lot of our success during that time was because we did go to a correspondent.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit because obviously you have one of the best in Tyson that from an account executive perspective, not only at Flagstar, but in the industry, supporting you in your endeavors. But talk a little bit about that, right? Because I think that's one thing that clients rely on us a lot for, but don't realize the options that they have. So when you made the decision to go from broker to non-del from a correspondent perspective, how was it that Flagstar was able to help you kind of transition in that regards? Like what, I guess in your perspective, what guidance were we able to provide? How were we able to kind of structure it so that you could make that jump and be comfortable in doing it?
Was the knowledge that Flagstar had to make the transition as smooth as it could be at that time. Account executives, so many of them are glorified call center. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that either, but they do not have the knowledge or the expertise that the account executives at Flagstar have. And that is what has made us, the Mortgage Advantage, look good.
But then when you look at an evolution of somebody like yourself, right? When you went from broker to non-del, you have the account executive that's there to walk you through that. And we've been, helping clients like yourself transition from that broker into non-del for 30 years. So how was that process for you when you were actually making the transition with Tyson helping you?
Well, it was a learning curve because you come from being from a broker who you don't have to worry about any of that. None of it. So I could see now why being a correspondent is not for every broker. But when mistakes were made, Flagstar was there to help us through there. There wasn't just, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. It was, what can we do to fix this? But after we went through that learning curve, because there is one, yes, but the learning curve, it has made us so much more competitive in the marketplace.
And I guess talk about that, right? Because a lot of times when we talk to clients, they only view it from one perspective, right? About going from broker to non-del. But in the grand scheme of things, big picture, why does it make you so competitive?
Well, we have control. We can do our own loan estimates. We can send those out. We have control over the closing document to be sent out. And that piece of it is huge, to be able to send the closing document out for so many different reasons. And the other is the funding piece of it. We can order the funds, and the funds are usually there by 6:00 a.m. our time. So, and even our clients have gotten very spoiled that they, oh no, the Mortgage Advantage, they'll have the funds there early. And instead of sending the docs back, having someone go through, is this going to work? Getting a kickback, and oh my God, are we going to meet the 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock cutoff time?
So true. Pivot to your borrowers for a second and what you do at your company in relation to the service levels that you provide, keeping your borrowers aware of the situation. What do you think are some of the key things that separate you from your competition?
Follow up is, and I know during the past 2 years when we were insanely busy, I look back at our fallout and there was relatively just so few. So, and part of it was following up every week where we were in the transaction. And as you know, there were times we weren't closing on a timely refis. Purchases, yes. Purchases, we always closed on time unless there was some other situation we were unaware of. But refis, we weren't. And it's just being there, whether it be calling, texting, emailing. I always ask my client at the very beginning, how do you want to communicate? Do you prefer email, phone calls, or text? And it's in a weekly text or whatever the timeline is. But I think it's the follow-up for the client, at least when you're in process, that is so important.
I love the one thing you said, because I started back in 95 as a retail loan officer. And I just saw over the course of time, so many people that when there was bad news or what was perceived to be bad news in the manufacturing process, I saw other originators go into like a dark hole and wouldn't communicate with their borrower. They're only wanted to be the hero when it was all good. And I think it's just to your point, keeping them engaged and updated every step of the way. It takes out all the surprises. And I think it's more important, even when you have something that might be perceived as bad news, that's when you need to be even more proactive. I've kind of always thought over time.
Well, also when you have bad news, you just don't call them up and go, oh my God, your loan's denied. It's over. It's over. No,
That's right.
Well, first, there are always options. And hopefully the loan officer is strong enough that they know that loan is not going to be denied. They don't let it get that far. If we get bad news, then what are our options? What can we do to fix it? What can we do to heal it? What do we have to do to mend it? We just don't call them up with just the bad news. Or worse, we've received loans, unfortunately, from other lenders that they just don't know what happened. They don't have a clue why they were having issues with their loan.
Yeah, it kind of points to that conversation, right, about some people and how they go about communicating with the borrower. It doesn't surprise me that you've probably stepped in at the 11th hour and saved transactions for borrowers and real estate agents where they might have been falling apart somewhere else because of the way you guys go about what you do. Anything kind of in closing as you're looking at 2022, and obviously we've been joking around about how it's fast forward to here where we're at right now. Anything from your perspective that you would share with individuals that are, looking at like, what is the rest of this year going to hold for me? Anything you would give as far as like key areas of focus for an originator?
I would focus on your account base. I think it's going to be a tough, not that you shouldn't be focusing on your agents, you should, but I think it's going to be a tough year, at least in the Arizona market, for purchases. The other is that I have to give a shout out to Tyson, because he has always been there to bounce things off of. And we brainstorm on how to make a loan work. And that is so important to have someone like that in your corner that can make you look good. He's like a silent partner. No one ever knows about him. But he is always there. And Kelly has helped when Tyson has taken that rare vacation. Kelly has always stepped in as well. and having them there to make us look good every day is what I'm so grateful for. But 2022, we're going to have, there's a word that you probably have heard all over the place. It's called pivot. And I think we're all learning to pivot, and we have had other times like this. Nobody wants to live back through 2009, 10, 11, 12 again. And I write an economic report every couple of weeks, and I wrote about that a couple of weeks ago, about what that was like and how gut-wrenching, how difficult loans were during that time. We don't have that now. This is just something we'll all have to get used to and figure it out.
Yeah, and Diane, I think you touch on it, right? Because we had a call the other day with somebody that we were doing a series with, and there are a lot of originators that have never known anything but this environment that we've been in, right? With historically low rates. And now the question is, how do you pivot? I'll steer your word because I love that word. How do you pivot to then, as an owner of a company or a mentor, show people that, you know, it's going to be okay. Like, okay, refinances might not be falling off the trees anymore, but the industry is still going to thrive. We're projecting for a $3 trillion market this year. By all accounts, everybody knows that's a very good, sustainable market. So how do you pivot as you go forward? And I love that word. It's a great transition. We love bringing value to our business partners, so when we can have a business partner who's had the long-term relationship with Flagstar, share some thoughts on what they're seeing in their local marketplace. And from a national perspective, we always appreciate it. And we love seeing how we fit into the evolution of companies like with you and Mortgage Advantage.